Thank you so much, Rosalie, for being here. It's a pretty emotional moment to just talk about the film when we just see the end.
For you?
Well, yes, for me.
As you,
I don't know if you know, but I actually saw the film in Berlin with Agnès there, and she was extremely lively and funny on stage, and it was kind of nearly weird to see a movie that seems like an end to something, while she was so lively and full of energy, as she always was. And then rewatching it after, then, you know, I'm sure you're aware.
Yes, I am.
And maybe I'll ask a couple of questions,
Yes,
and
of
then
course.
we can talk to the audience, which I'm sure wants to know. So when you started working on the film, did you have a set structure about how you were going to go about going into all the movies she's talking about? Did you discuss about a chronological development in the film, or was it more like we'll talk about what I want to say?
We started the project in 2015, and at that period when we really started this project, it was the idea to do a film where she would talk about her own work, you know, and like not only the film, but I would say the photo and the installation and the part, you know, of the visual artist she's doing since 15 years. And then, oh, it's very loud suddenly. And then we stopped. So we filmed 1 or 2 masterclass, and then we stopped because we did Faces, Places.
Yes.
And so when we restarted the project in 2018, at the production, we thought, you know, we had to do it. And I was saying in the presentation that she was not sure it would be interesting, but she worked, you know, with Didier Rouget, who was, you know, who helped her to co-direct the first part of the film. They did work to write, you know, a kind of a structure of this. So you're right. Do we have to speak about the film by themes, or should we do it chronology, you know, or how should we present this? And it's true that after she had the question with Didier and she thought it was better to do a chronology globally, because she was thinking too that this film should be able to be seen by people that do not know her films, and would not be very, you know, she didn't want it to be a sophisticated structure, you know. She wanted it to be very smooth and very simple. So in a way, to begin by the beginning is quite simple, you know. So it really was the first part, which is 35 millimeters, 16 millimeters, argentic with cameras and crews. And the second part is when the digital began in her life, and when, you know, she bought a first digital camera in 2000. It was a little Sony, and with this little camera, she started to shoot The Gleaners and I. So it's true that, you know, the structure of the film, she kind of made it at the editing, you know, I mean, working on that. But with Didier, they did prepare a lot of things to you know, the conversation, where she should talk. And for the example on Vagabond, I think it was, you know, very smart to do a little shooting fiction of how to explain a traveling, but not only that, she could be in a situation to speak about the structure of Vagabond, of, you know, the traveling, structuring the film, going from right to left, you know, and to see Sandrine Bonner at the end, it's a little delight, it's a little treasure, you know. So those little ideas, I think they got it to working, you know, together, and I think it's maybe that makes the film a little bit special. It's not only going in the archive of your own film. She tried to do this as a film and trying to put cinema and, you know, in it.
How many times have you seen the film?
Not so much.
Not so much? Mm-hmm.
We did like, I would say, 2 or 3 screenings before the end, you know, like when you do the mixing, the color grading, the editing. Then I check, you know, the screening when you check the DCP, you know, and things like that. But then I saw it in Berlin, and it was, you know, a kind of a special screening because we knew it would be, you know, kind of her last festival, and that she was very sick, and so it was a little tough on us. Mm-hmm. But I thought that would be nice for her, so I invited all the crew that worked on the film, and, you know, everybody came in Berlin, and we did a kind of a very nice evening afterwards. A lot of champagne and a lot of joy, and she was so extremely light, you know, on life. And so it helped me. But I haven't seen the film since. I cannot really, right now, I'll do it later. You know, the voice is a little bit difficult to hear. The photo is okay, but the voice is a little bit like, it's normal. It's, yeah, it's
I'm
normal.
sure our voice has a very strong resonance.
The thing is interesting is that the audience, they know her voice, because since she has been, you know, putting a little bit of herself in films since so long, you know, doing herself the commentaire and, you know, and everything. So we know her voice. We know her image. And I think it is one of the reasons why she is a little bit, I would say, popular, or people know her face more than some other directors. It's because she put herself in the films since a long time, you know, since the Gleaners globally. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered well your question, but
I mean, she did. I mean, you can cut the career into like pre-Gleaner and after Gleaner, because she made amazing films before. But then it's interesting that in her career, then coming to digital, she would also change it to insert herself. So it's true that everybody has a very strong relationship with her, because we feel we are close to her, and she's close to us, and she understands us. And that's why it makes it emotional and very special for a lot of people who've been following film. But then when you watch this film, you get a lot of Agnès from
it's
pre
done
and after.
I mean, it's done for that. This film is done to have a little bit of Agnès, you know, and I hope it will give the desire, you know, to see some films.
I certainly hope so, because we're working on a retrospective with you. We will
So
show
you
a lot of films.
You understand the secret message is there will be a retrospective of Agnès Varda in December, so you can come. That's the secret message.
Yes, well, now it's not secret anymore. It was secret before you said it. But no, it's actually, when I watch this film, I also do want to rewatch also all the other films, even though I've seen them before. And I hope you all feel the desire to discover things maybe you haven't seen on the big screen. Maybe we can take audience questions.
Yes,
too?
of course.
Yes. Do we have microphones? We do have, and we have microphones. There's someone here.
Very interesting seeing through her eyes. I have a question about her relationship to photography, still images and moving images. As a documentary filmmaker who does still photography as well, I could see the influence on her moving images from her history in the still image. Did she ever talk about her relationship to moving and still images?
I think you're asking a very interesting question, because I cannot answer for her, of course, but what I can feel and what she said is that being a photographer for years before going, you know, to be a film director made her, I think, very strongly, she had a knowledge, I would say, of of this, of the screen, of what you put in the screen and what you put out of the screen. She would say, le cadre, le hors cadre, and I think, as a photographer, she was already kind of doing cinema. It's like when you see the photos, and she did not do exhibition of her photo on that period. I mean, she did a lot of photos of theaters, play, the Théâtre National Populaire, which was a big company of theaters in the 50s. And you see already in the photos that the frame is so special, and I think it did influence her when she became a film director, of course. I mean, because if you look on all her film, it is always so precise, I mean, how she chooses how the people are in the frame of her film. So, yes. And that's why, too, I think she was interested working with digital camera and, doing the Gleaners and I, and doing the, 2 years after the Gleaners and I, and then doing the TV series with always those digital camera. I think she was really interested afterwards to re-put the questioning of still image, moving image, frame, unframe, and a lot of her installation of art, installation that I don't know if you have the chance to see some, are really questioning about that.
There's another question here.
Yeah, I have a question. When she shot digitally, did she often do that all by herself? Like go by herself, do the sound and shooting by herself? Or did she have somebody with her often?
No, she did some shooting alone with the little Sony, mini Sony, the Sony that you turn like this and you get the little, the little screen like that. But usually it was a very light crew, like somebody for the sound, because it's a problem, the sound, if you don't have good sound, and so usually there were three. It's not a lot, so you're not aggressive with people being 3 person on the set and maybe 1 person helping, but not next to the people. And I think she was very, she liked that relationship, talking to the people and having, them share with her a little bit of themselves and filming them and not being aggressive with a big crew, with a big camera, with somebody having, a big sound thing and everything. So she liked it to do shootings where she would be nearly vanishing, you know what I mean? And they would forget that there's a camera and that there's a sound engineer.
But she must have been very technically adept. She seemed
What?
very, very technically adept. The sound was good, it was on a tripod, or, everything looked great.
Yes, but, you can do good image and good sound with 2 person, So the question is, she didn't like, having big crews on big sets, and it was not her thing, She wanted that the technique would be would be there, would be very good, but would not be in the front, not showing themselves,
Now there's a question there.
Beautiful film and a beautiful person. Thank you. Watching the film, I was struck by how it seemed that she always had inspiration. There was never a moment where she was doubting herself, or at least not shown in the film. So I was wondering whether it was a conscious decision on her part and on the filmmaking team to kind of not show the struggle, if there was one. The struggle of getting this films made and staying inspired, or was it really that easy? Was she always just constantly inspired, always going?
I think there's 2 things in your question is, the doubt is always there. As most artists, they always have the doubt of what they're doing and questioning of what they're doing. This film, we did it on, I said, we did a little bit in 2015, then we stopped, then we did it in 2018, and the editing was very long, and the shooting was not every day, but, Agnès could not do a normal shooting, like, 5 weeks in the row, shooting 10 hours a day. I mean, it was, she was an old woman in very good shape and very bright and sharp, but her body was not in the condition to do like this. So I would say the shooting anyway was structured by how she was, Struggle is not the good word, because I don't think there's a struggle. It's just sometimes she was wondering if what she was doing was the good way to do it, and then going in the editing room, editing the thing, seeing what is missing or what she should do, or she loved to do that. In the editing room, she was constructing the film, because it's not so easy. You have to go back in your own work, and she had to choose things, because we couldn't do a 4-hour film. It would be awful and boring. So she had to choose what she wanted to talk about on each film. And the question was, and that's where with Didier they kind of do a ping pong, saying, okay, let's do, what do we choose on Cléo? What do we choose on Happiness? What do we choose on, L'une chante l'autre pas? What do we choose on Vagabond? What do we shoot on Jaco de Nantes? Because then you have to kind of take a little bit of everything. And then she wanted to speak a little bit about her installation that people globally don't know, and that she was a photographer that globally people don't know. So it went, there was too much material. She had to cut into it, But I think she was right, because in fact, the idea was not to say everything about everything. The idea is to give the desire to the audience to see, to feel, to think, and maybe to go and see a film.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? I saw someone earlier in the back. Are you feeling shy? Are we intimidating? Or are you just thinking about all the movies you're going to come and see
I have
with
an
us?
idea. Maybe Didier has a question. Didier is here. T'as pas de question, toi? Tu devrais avoir une question, Didier.
Ah oui, je vois pas.
Hein? Oui.
And you're going to find one in English or in French? What, 2 minutes? No, no.
How is it to work with your own mother?
Thanks. You're a good pal. But you know what? It's like when we get out of the saloon, we get out our guns. So I'm going to answer, because in fact, I don't need any guns. I think I chose to work with her. I'm sure of myself. So I'm not a victim, I'm not a slave. I know where is my place. I try to find my place next to her. And finally, it started slowly. It started in 2003. We did together. I was kind of co-curator with her of her own exhibition she has done at the Cartier Fondation in Paris. And when we worked together, we enjoyed it a lot. And I think she trusts me, on my advice, on organizing next to her, so she could be more free to create and have not so production problems, organization problems, and so it went slowly. It didn't go on one day, but more and more I took care of the company, and more I took care of her. And I would say 10 years ago I thought, I will only take care of her, and I want her to be able to do exactly what she wanted to do for her last years of work, you know, which needed to be next to her and to organize things, because it's heavy, you know, it's heavy to travel, it's heavy to do things, and she, even though she was in very good shape globally, it's not the same, you know, you have to protect her a little bit. So it started slowly, and we were good partners. She was very nice with me. Sometimes we argue a little bit, and you know, it's normal because you work with her. I was with her every day, you know. But the relation was interesting because she always asked me what I thought, and you know, and she would write something, you know, and even it was, I'd say, to answer a journalist with some question, or to write something for a catalog or anything, and I would always read what she had written, you know, and we could discuss if sometimes I thought this was not good enough, or she could be even better, or she could be even sharper, or I was always telling her, no concession now. You know, you haven't done them till you're 80, so you're not going to do them now, you know, so really do whatever you want, and I will be next to you and do so you can do it. I don't know how to say in English, be able to put you in the situation to do it. But we did argue a little bit sometimes, but she was so clever to always listen to what the people working with her was telling her. So sometimes she was like, no, I don't like the, yeah. But she was so clever to listen, and sometimes she would change, and sometimes she wouldn't, because she thought she was right, and then she was right. You know, I was not there next to her to make her change. I was next to her to help her to be the best she could, which is very different on the relationship. And sometimes just for fun, when she was kind of difficult, I would say, you know, if you don't like, I can find another little old woman to take care of. So I can tell you it would stop it right away. We laughed a lot. That's people cannot understand that, but in the middle of everything, we did laugh a lot.
I hope you were satisfied with your question and the answer. But you worked with Agnès since Jaco de Nantes, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so you do have some experience.
So he knows who's the little dragon.
So you know about the sense of humor too. Do you rewatch a lot of the Agnès films sometimes, or?
I do. I saw, you know, when we worked on this, I did re-see all the films, but globally I see them once in a while.
Do you have any special favorites in terms of?
Okay, so I can tell you my answer because it's a very good answer. All the films are wonderful, interesting. They are a little like my children. I don't prefer one. But sometimes different time of the year, different day, different where you are, you're more open to one film or another. I would say the most personal film she has done, where maybe she had put a lot of her, is documentaire. Yeah. I think this is the only film where she did really put what she was feeling at that moment. But the rest of the film, she's very clever. She puts herself, but she always puts what she wants.
Yeah, no, she puts and pulls back and pulls back in. Yeah.
Clever, clever girl.
But that's why also the movies are so enduring and so personal for anyone because you identify to certain things, and then you can see her, and then you don't see her, and you want to see more. And you have to come back for the retrospective because then you can see everything again. And I think you'll be back.
Yes,
at some
I'll
point.
come back in January, and
Okay.
I will present some films.
And we will let you know which one we are. Oh, there's more. There's the question. Yes. Well, there's two, but like we can go here first.
I wanted to ask, I know she, found inspiration from so much, and that led her to make such unique and different films every time. But I'm curious if every film was structured around a very strong script, or if she just let, a specific inspiration kind of lead its way into its own story in the narrative films that she did.
Okay, in the documentaries, you even if you write the base of the documentary you are interested in, you know that the documentary is on the shooting that you discover, and one thing brings you to another. So a documentary is impossible to write before. For narrative film, she always had very precise script. But I think on the shooting of what I saw, she was able to be open, to leave the door open, so it would be a little bit different of what she had written, but because talking with the actor, seeing the set, she would be influenced and having other ideas. But I don't know how to translate exactly in English. She always said, "Le hasard est mon meilleur assistant," which would mean...
I mean, like, chance is my best assistant.
What?
Chance is my best assistant.
Yes, but chance
really
is
chance,
not...
it's
Le hasard is not chance. It's like what's going on that is not prepared or predictable could be my best assistant. So she was always open to that. And I think even in her fiction films, at least the two fiction films, like on Vagabond, when I worked on Vagabond, I did the costume on Vagabond. I didn't really do all the shooting, but it was prepared, it was structured. But in that, she would leave a place to be not improvisation, because I don't like this word. I would say it's more, she was open to what would happen that could go into the scene.
And there was a question just behind, right there.
Hi, thanks so much. So in the course of the documentary, it was hinted that she had an admiration for certain of her contemporaries, including Jacques Demy and people like Buñuel and so forth. And you got the sense that she admired a lot of other creators during her lifetime as well as maybe earlier. But did she ever speak of new voices in the new century, that she was attracted to people that she admired from this 21st century?
Like upcoming directors?
Yes,
or
exactly. Yeah.
Or creative.
That's the first part of the question. The second part is, what was her spirit about collaboration with other creators? And were there any projects that she, or wish projects that never came to fruition?
En fait, en gros, si elle était inspirée par des nouveaux réalisateurs, du nouveau siècle, si elle aurait travaillé avec eux.
Okay, so I can answer on one part of the question. I think she never had the idea to do a collaboration with another director or to co-direct a film. I think the project that she has done with GR, where they co-directed Faces Places, came because she met him, and because of what they had in common. In a way, she did a documentary on murals, so on, in a way, street art, in the 80s. And GR is pasting since 10 years all over the world, huge image of an anonymous person. So between the documentaries that Agnès did and between his work, there was a relation that could work together, and I think she gave a lot to JR, but JR gave a lot to her too, because he was able to push her a little bit, and to give her energy, it was a good balance, like when sometimes she was kind of, oh, I don't know, and she was a little bit like that, he would just twist the thing and make her laugh, and it would go back to work, easily. And on her side, I think she gave to JR much more structure in his work, and she really helped me to discover how to do interviews and how to be much more not only photo. And I see that in the installation he has been doing since the film, he added video and he added interviews. Did you go and see his exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum?
No, I didn't.
You should. You should, because I think it was a good sharing between two artists that are not from the same generation, but that makes us understand that we can share with somebody of another generation. So that part I can answer. Okay, the other part I cannot. I'm not her.
Perhaps in the new century, she was more attracted towards experimental art or experimental different modes besides traditional filmmaking, maybe.
Well, she was always interested, but when she met Andy Warhol in the 60s at the factory, she was already interested in the film he had done. The film that is long. I don't remember the title now.
Chelsea Girls.
Where he put the camera and yeah. Oh. And then, of course, she knew the film of Johannes Mekas, and but she even worked with Shirley Clark, but she was not, I think, she was interested by experimental movies or cinema, but it was not her thing, It's not, I don't think it's what she wanted to do. What she tried to do on the last part of her life, when she did installation, is the questioning, once again, of still image, moving image, how you share that, how you can put it in a different medium, that means on the wall, on the floor, what is the perception of a little image, of a big image, and everything. But she was not a searcher, like some film directors are really doing experimental movies and really are on the, only doing that. I don't think it was her world.
Merci beaucoup.
Is there another final question? Yes, there's someone here. The microphone is coming. No, the microphone is running.
I was just wondering if you were ever in front of her camera. I didn't notice from the footage in this, but as the daughter of a photographer, filmmaker.
What?
As the daughter of a photographer, filmmaker,
okay,
were you
so
filmed?
I can just answer two things. One is going to make you laugh. I was her doll when I was a little girl, But then it stopped because when I was able to say, I don't want to be in front of the camera, it was finished. No, I was really once in the film she did in 1976 called L'une chante, l'autre part. And it's a kind of a film she did for my 18th birthday, and it's a feminist film where the story, this is a film that I will present in January because it's a very, I think, really beautiful film and very modern in a way. It's a musical, it's feminist, and it's really the story of two young girls that will become friends, and their life will be very different, and it's the story of their life and their friendship. And it's, she asked me to be the last sequence of the film, and I really didn't want it, but she did not convince me. It's that when she wanted something, you couldn't say no. So, I did do it, but I really realized that I did not want to be an actress. You had to be much too narcissistic to be in front of a camera. I mean, it's just so difficult. I mean, it was the first and the last time.
How old were you when you?
18.
18, yeah.
It's perfect.
It's a beautiful. I mean,
it's perfect because I
film,
really did it the first time and the last time.
But now you can still talk about it.
Yes, I can still talk about it, but I felt miserable.
Thinking about it, but not when you talk about the movie is great. The movie is amazing.
I think the movie is really interesting to see it now because, to think it has been done in 76, and it's such joyful way to speak about feminism, and it's such a wise way to speak about feminism.
And friendship.
And friendship, yeah. And another subject which is your life can start really miserable and can finish nicely. In happiness.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much, Rosalie, for being here. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. And you will be back. You said
yes.
it.